Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You've tuned into Rules for Rebels. And if you are failing at Shopify, I want you to stop what you're doing and I want you to go buy yourself a Walkman. Weird topic, right? Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What does he want me to do? Go buy a Paula Abdul cassette and listen to Straight Up Now, Tim, and, you know, rock out and forget that I'm a Shopify loser? No, that's not where we're getting at, guys. So here's kind of, this is all going to come together. Here's kind of what the focus of this video is and what I'm suggesting here. So Shopify has made opening an e-commerce store, running an e-commerce business 1,000 times easier than it used to be. When I first started, like my business started off as a small eBay business, and as we made some money and as we grew and as we expanded, we wound up deciding to start a WordPress WooCommerce site. We hired an Indian design company for $3,300, which is actually cheap. A US company was wanting to charge us like 18, 20 grand. We had 6 guys working on our e-commerce site. It was a 6-week launch time, and at least 2 days a week I was starting conference calls at 1 in the morning because that's the time that they get into their office. And that's what it used to be like to start an e-commerce site. So Shopify has made it 1,000 times easier to launch an e-commerce store. However, that doesn't mean that it's easy. There's a lot of skill sets that go into running a successful business. There's a lot of skill sets that go into having a successful Shopify store. You have to know about product sourcing and product selection. You got to know about shipping. You got to know about merchant processing and chargebacks. You got to know about PPC ads. You got to know about SEO. And if you've never had a blog, if you've never done affiliate marketing, if you've never sold anything on eBay, the chances of you jumping into a Shopify store and learning all these different skills that need to come together to run a successful business in a couple days, a couple weeks, even a couple months is pretty far-fetched. Do some people launch their first Shopify store and have success? You know, absolutely. There's exceptions to the rule, but more often than not, the vast majority of people are going to fail. And that's why I'm suggesting before you guys launch a Shopify store, you buy yourselves a Walkman. And here's what I'm getting at with this. So I like estate sales. I used to go to a lot of estate sales. I like it for just finding kind of like personal things for myself and my house, and also finding things to flip. And storage auctions are the same thing, right? And kind of the point here is the stuff that you're going to get at estate sales and or storage auctions, it's going to be a lot more unique. All you guys trying to sell paracord bracelets and fire starters and solar power banks, you are among 10,000 other people like you trying to sell these same items from AliExpress and trying to make money. There's a lot fewer Walkmans out there. There are a lot fewer vintage beer cans out there. There's all these collectibles and weird things you get at estate sales and storage auctions. There's a lot fewer of them than there is the AliExpress junk that's being endlessly produced. And also the margins are a lot better. So, you know, with the storage auction thing I mentioned, the first storage auction I ever went to, I bought a unit for, I think it was $400, maybe $450. It was the last $450 I had to my name. All of it went into this unit. Within about 6 weeks, it took me a long time to sell a lot of little like knick-knacky things. But within about 6 weeks, that $450 storage unit had made me over $5,000. So what the hell does all this have to do with a Walkman, right? So my girlfriend loves like old like 90s stuff. So she like loves Walkmans and those like old yellow Sony boom boxes and just kind of all that goofy stuff, slap bracelets, all that. And so this past weekend, my girlfriend wanted to go to a storage auction. She's a big fan of that Joanna Gaines house flipper chick. And so she wanted to go to, I said storage auction, she wanted to go to an estate sale and try to find like old ladders and weird, you know, jugs and just like farmhouse stuff or whatever to decorate the house with. And I noticed on one of these estate sales, and there's estate sales, I guarantee you there's probably about a dozen of them going on within a couple miles of your house every weekend. But on one of these estate sales listings, and there's all types of websites if you want, I'll list some of them below. I think one of them is Estately, but there's a bunch of others. I noticed a bunch of Walkmans pictured on one of these estate sales. So we go to the estate sale, we start walking around. There are 20 Walkmans, 20 of these. At this store, at this estate sale. Different makes, different models. Most of them were kind of the yellow Sony one, different variations on it. And I knew that these things go for a pretty good buck on eBay. Cassette tapes are starting to come back. If you ever see a big box of cassette tapes at a garage sale or estate sale, potentially big money in there. But they were asking $6 to $8 for most of these Walkmans. Well, there were 18 or 20 of them. I think it was 20 of them in total. So I gathered up all the Walkmans and I went down to the lady who was running the cashier station And I said, if I buy all of these, will you do them for $2 a piece? And it was Sunday, so it was the last day of the estate sale. Typically at estate sales on Sundays, you're going to get the good deals. And she gave all of these to me for $2. Now, if you look on eBay, Walkmans like this, you might occasionally see one selling for like 16 bucks. I would say $20 to $35 plus shipping all day long. Some of them will even go for $75 to $100 if it's in good shape, if you have the headphones to go with it, if it's like certain makes and models tend to go for more. I'm not really that knowledgeable on like which Walkmans are the good Walkmans to have. I'll just throw it up on an eBay auction and you know, let eBay rock with it and let people drive up the price. But even if I were to get $20 per Walkman, which is being pretty conservative, that's $400 off of these Walkmans. I wound up spending, like I said, I got 20 of them, $2 a piece. I wound up spending 40 bucks. In the end, conservatively speaking, I'm gonna make $400. More than likely, it'll probably be $550, 600 bucks off of these. At the same estate sale, they also had a bunch of, who used to make those? You guys remember, like before the Game Boy, those little like AAA battery handheld games? They had like either like the black and green screen or black and white screen. These were before Game Boys, but you know, there'd be like football games, there'd be other ones. I think they probably had about 6 of these like old school games. Those also sell really well on eBay. So I mean, at one estate sale, I shelled out under $50 and walked out with probably about $600 worth of merchandise. Now, let's look at it that as opposed to starting like your own Shopify store or whatever else, right? So you start a Shopify store. First off, you got to figure out what the hell to sell, what's in demand, what do people want. You're competing with 10,000 other people trying to sell the same AliExpress stuff that you are, unless you get really creative or make your own items. And the average e-commerce store makes about a 40% margin. So if you're making 40% margins, if you sell one item and then your next sale is either a chargeback or a return or the package gets lost in the mail, that wipes out 2 good sales. On the other hand, if I pay $2 for this or $1 for this and I sell it for $10, I can have 9 more sales go bad and I'm still in the green. So the margins on used items and old items and storage auction and estate sale stuff, the margins are going to be way better than running a typical e-commerce store. And really kind of what I'm getting at with this video and this concept here is, like I said, you know, long before I ever launched my first Shopify store, which I had the custom built WordPress store prior to that, but long before I launched one of those stores, I'd been running blogs and monetizing blogs. I'd been doing affiliate marketing. I'd been selling on eBay. Me and my business partner, we started our business on eBay. For probably the first year of the business, we were packing orders for $2 per order. We pretty much sold the same items all the time. We were packing orders for $2 profit per order. If you actually factored in like the bubble mailers and things like that, it was probably more like 50 cents to a $1.25 per order. And it felt really pointless and really stupid doing it, but I realized at the time that we were building a business and we were playing a long-term game here. And it was that eBay business that allowed us to open the e-commerce store. And all along the way of doing all this stuff, my skill sets grew, right? So things like writing good titles, writing good descriptions, how to deal with lost shipments, how to deal with customers, you know, minor graphic design and photo editing, like all these skills that your average person typically isn't going to know. And I didn't know at the time. I developed all these skills by selling on eBay and running blogs and doing affiliate marketing and all these other things, so that once I did have my own e-commerce store, once I did, you know, upgrade to a Shopify store, I had already acquired all these skill sets. I already had an idea of kind of what sells and what doesn't. And it wasn't starting day one from square one with this huge learning curve. I already, you know, there were challenges that come up. There were things that I didn't know. But I had a good basis for kind of starting this business because of all these other things that I did prior. So my point here is, if you're failing at Shopify right now, if you've already failed at Shopify, if you're on your 3rd Shopify failure, your 4th Shopify failure, why don't you stop what you're doing and try something different, right? Why don't you go hit up an estate sale, buy yourself some Walkmans, buy yourself some old video games, buy yourself a box of cassettes or a box of records, try to sell that stuff on eBay, sell that stuff on Craigslist, see how that goes. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how much money you make. The vast majority of people at Shopify fail. People who go out and hit up estate sales and go to storage auctions, most people succeed, right? Not everyone's going to get rich off of it, but most people are going to come out profitable, just because it's almost hard to lose money doing stuff like this because you're getting the stuff so cheap. Like I said, that first storage auction, spent $400, made about $5,500. Like it's hard to fail when you buy an entire storage auction and one item in that storage locker pays for everything that you shelled out to buy it. So switch up your strategy, guys. If you're on your second, third, fourth Shopify failure, stop what you're doing. Go buy yourself a Walkman or a handheld game or a box of cassettes or whatever else. Give it a try doing it my way, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I think you're going to wind up making some money that you can then throw at your next Shopify business, and at that point, I think you will have acquired a lot of skill sets and a lot of knowledge that's going to give you a lot greater chance to be successful with this Shopify store. So again, guys, if you're failing at Shopify, get yourself a Walkman. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.